So, hello. My name is Gianna. I am the UC Esports Lab coordinator here. Um, I am going to help kind of show you guys without programs, why esports is so great and why your school should really be taking these steps in the future to getting esports as a part of your school. I hope everyone had an easy time trying to find this and navigate here. This shouldn't take too long, but the stream's going to be recorded and it's going to be posted online as well. So let's get started. And again, to introduce myself, my name's Gianna. I was a competitive collegiate esports player. I also did a little bit of coaching. Now I kind of lean more in towards like tournament organization and a lot of like social media stuff for both UC Esports and also like some external leagues as well. So welcome from the UC Esports Innovation Lab. We're really just putting this together to help elevate the community and really just, push esports forward, especially in the scholastic scene. So why esports? Esports is evolving as an industry, and scholastic esports is no different. It began as a fandom organized and led by students, and now it's a $500 million industry that is worldwide, and it is a bullet train that is not stopping. And we really want to help you guys jump on that bullet train with us to really, capitalize off of it and get your students involved. So this is an awesome quote by the former CEO of ESPN and the NFL Network, Steve Bornstein. He says, "I believe esports will rival the biggest traditional sports leagues in terms of future opportunities." And this is a massive step in terms of showing respect and recognition in the growth of esports and just the industry as a whole. And so here's a quick spotlight from the UC Esports Innovation Lab. I really just want to show you guys how, how much energy esports can really bring and how much joy can really bring to people. So I absolutely love that video. It's awesome. So looking at the agenda for today, we're really going to go over a couple things. First is going to be kind of the benefits, why to bring esports to your school. We're going to talk about how it's a STEM magnet, how it brings a bunch of opportunities for marginalized groups, and how it really reigns in the community. Then we're going to touch on, the recognition of esports athletes. What is the world doing? What's the nation doing? And then some leagues and organizations that are really, going above and beyond in this area. The cost and support for starting a program at your school, minimum requirements and whatnot. Just the overall program, some simple best practices, and then also a timeline to success. And we're going to use UC Esports. The UC Esports Club is an example. It's going to really help detail that process and how long it might take. And then we're going to go over some, perspectives, some different voices of the industry, those that have done it before, started from nothing. And then we're going to talk about some resources and then get into a Q&A. So let's look at the benefits. So first and foremost, esports is a STEM student magnet. Video games in general are a product of all STEM concepts, coming together to form this interactive medium that is nothing like anything else out there, nothing like movies, nothing like TV. NBC News even said companies are more likely to hire gamers because they can think 4 steps ahead. A lot of video games allow just the people playing them to really problem solve on like high stress environments, but also they can, relieve stress into this casual setting too. Another awesome stat, 66% of participating students are STEM majors or STEM adjacent. So you have a lot of, you have your engineers, you have your IT people, all just coming together and playing video games. Another really big benefit of esports is it brings a lot of opportunities for marginalized groups. By marginalized groups, I mean, minorities, women, LGBTQ plus communities and whatnot. And this is something that we heavily support, bringing these kinds of opportunities. So pictured here, this is a multi-title esports champion named Sonic Fox. They have won over $810,000 total in esports earnings. They are African American and they are openly gay, and they are a massive role model for so many people who are also competing that feel that they identify similarly. So, like I was saying, esports offers marginalized students a lot of access to technology, skill development, a lot of scholarship opportunities, while also fostering a lot of really important engagement that's free of this bias and toxicity that's constantly found in a lot of in-person environments, A couple studies have also shown that minority children and children from lower income families tend to play more than those from more affluent ones. And on average, LGBTQ plus players game slightly more than heterosexual players. So this community is really digging into a lot of really different perspectives that is really beneficial, especially in a high school setting. So next I want to mention how esports reigns in the community. Esports unites students by bringing them together through shared interests. It fosters collaboration. It creates these inclusive spaces for social interaction and competition. A study found that video games are a part of daily teen life. 85% of U.S. teens report playing video games, and 41% say that they play video games at least once a day. Another awesome stat, 72% of teens who play video games report that the reason that they do it is to spend time with others. So this is a social sport. People always have these stereotypes that, gamers are kind of reclusive, they sink away, they're introverts. In reality, a lot of these kids are playing games to really, find friends, build friendships, while also relieving stress. And kind of like looking at the rest of the benefits, really the main takeaways that I want to just highlight again: increased problem-solving abilities, a building of a community, and also building of connections. So next I want to talk about some, recognition of esports athletes. What does that look like? And the first thing I want to mention is some quick points, global and national stats that I think are really eye-opening, especially for, school administrators and parents who might not realize how large this actually is. So there's over 500 million fans worldwide for esports. The esports viewership has been beating out all traditional U.S. sports viewership, with the only exception being the NFL, and that's because of the Super Bowl as well. So a lot of people are tuning in to watch these events. Estimated $2.4 billion in esports revenue for 2024. For perspective, the NFL's revenue growth is around $2 billion each year, and they've been established for decades, while the projected growth for esports is going to be around $6.2 billion within the next 5 years. So like I said, it's a bullet train that's constantly going by. 10% of all U.S. sports viewings were for esports. That's around 300 billion hours watched. The current largest esports prize pool stands at $41 million, which was for a League of Legends tournament. And with that, there was around 100 million concurrent viewers for that event as well. And then something that a lot of people don't think about is the U.S. esports betting market was valued at $11.3 billion in 2023, and this is also projected to grow to $33 billion in the next 6 years. So it's really starting to become equal with a lot of, established, traditional, physical sports that have been around for a very long time. And brands already know this. Fortune 500 brands have been jumping on this opportunity for a very long time now. As you can see pictured here, we have, MasterCard sponsoring a League of Legends Championship Series, Honda sponsoring the same event, Adidas has been collabing with these massive content creators for their own clothing brands, Gucci has a gaming academy, and then Gillette also has their own, esports roster as well. So these massive companies are also starting to recognize it. So something else I also wanted to look at and just mention is collegiate esports and what opportunities some students will have going from high school into collegiate for this. So there's over 500 programs nationwide. About 55% of college students already identify as gamers in some way. $46 million worth of scholarships were distributed. in 2023 and 2024. That's massive for competitive esports. And then around 68% of schools with esports programs offer esports scholarships. So somebody can take their passion for gaming and really, bring it far and help take that into college and really, get a lot of benefits out of it. And so I want to highlight some leagues and organizations that I find that are doing really well and excelling, esports in the scholastic scene. And so for those of you in Ohio, the first thing I want to mention is the Ohio Athletic Association. And so they recognized esports as a varsity sport back in 2023, and they've also partnered with Esports Ohio to facilitate competition for over 500 schools across the state. It is a massive competition, a massive tournament. It is a wonderful, wonderful league ran by some very passionate individuals, and it's a really good stepping stone, especially for those schools in Ohio. Another really awesome resource is Play Versus. So this is a free alternative for middle and high school teams that might not have a very well-funded esports program. There's no subscription tied to it. There's no membership tied to it. So this is a really good stepping stone for a lot of these programs that might have just started before they want to get into a larger league. Looking at another league is the high school esports league, and they also have a middle school esports league too. This is the largest and longest running esports organization for middle school and high school competing in esports. And this is a national tournament as well. So although Esports Ohio is only for Ohio, the high school esports league is for the nation, and there are so many schools a part of it. They have massive tournaments. It is a very well-ran league, and this is, I would say, the next stepping stone for those who maybe want to move from the free alternatives to something a little bit more standardized. And then they've also given out around $700,000 in esports scholarships alone since they've started. They've been doing a lot more recently, which is really, really awesome to see as well. And then another organization I want to highlight before anything is the NASEF. They provide so many opportunities for students, coaches, parents, faculty to really understand esports. They do a lot of surveys, they do a lot of studies. A lot of stats that I pull are from the NASEF. They have a really great community, especially in the scholastic scene, because their main target is going to be high school and middle school. So cost and support. What does the minimum requirements for starting a program look like logistically? So first and foremost, you're going to need some physical space. It's not like you can put these kids out in the field and just say, go have fun. Unfortunately, you're going to need some kind of physical space to facilitate this activity. And with that, you're going to need some kind of, either computers or Nintendo Switches. So as a quick preface, Super Smash Bros., which is on the Nintendo Switch, is easily the most accessible and school-friendly esport available that requires really the bare minimum of space and equipment to compete. However, you would only be limited to using the Switches for, gaming purposes. If you were able to get, gaming PCs, you would, number one, have almost a unlimited amount of esports titles to choose from. And then number two, you can also use them for academic purposes, which is a really good trade-off. You're also going to need, reliable high-speed internet. All these games are online, so you're going to need your students to be able to actually access the internet to play. You're going to need some software access and licensing as well. However, the good thing is that most esports titles and competition platforms are entirely free to access. There's only a very few games that require payment, that require any contracts being signed. Most of them are just, make an account, you're good to go. And then you're also going to need to understand kind of some leagues that you might want to join, kind of what I mentioned earlier with Esports Ohio, Play Versus, High School Esports League. There's so many out there that are well established and that really offer a lot. So I really wanted to touch really fast on the Cincinnati Fear Esports package. So the Cincinnati Fear is the professional esports league out of Cincinnati. They do have corporate support to develop a lab through the Cincinnati Fear. So you can contact us later for more information on this, and then we'll help you guys out. And so I wanted to touch on something really fast, and it's going to be some trivia. So it's going to be about gamer terminology. And, do you know what these 4 commonly used terms in gaming and esports mean? And it's okay if you don't know them. That's totally fine. This is a very introductory, level thing. But these are 4 terms that I think every, coach or esports administrator should know, just because they're used so heavily. It's the gamer language, so you kind of gotta know it. So the first thing is meta. What do we think meta means? I'll give 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds to figure out what meta means. And unfortunately, no, it's not, who owns Facebook or Instagram Reels. Okay, so meta actually means it's a term used to describe the game's player base's current idea of what the most optimal way to play the game is. What characters to pick, what routes to take on certain maps, what abilities to use and whatnot. And so a good example is favoring playing newly released characters due to, this is another piece of trivia, power creep. Now, power creep essentially is just when a video game developer releases a character or a mechanic, later in the game that is stronger than earlier released mechanics or characters or whatnot. So the next term is IGL. What do we think IGL stands for? This one I think is a little bit harder if you don't know anything about competitive gaming. So IGL, it stands for in-game leader. It's the person on the team that shot calls these strategies for the team to follow. And it's very different from coaching. Your IGL is going to be a player in-game who's with the team, and they're basically, they're calling the routes, they're calling what to do, they're directing the team, almost like a micromanager, but they're not the ones giving critiques like coaches would. So the next term is Nerf. And I'm not talking about the plastic dart company. Okay. So Nerf is essentially a balance adjustment the game developers release that makes, a character, weapon, game mechanic less powerful. And this is usually in response to this power creep that I mentioned earlier. So, developers release a new character. A couple weeks later, they figure it's way too strong. Let's nerf it. And the opposite of that would be called a buff, but I thought that was a bit too easy. So the last term is ace. And I'm not talking about the card suit. So ace is a really cool term. It's used in 5v5 games, and 2-ace or acing essentially means that a player eliminated all 5 players of the opposing team in a single round or engagement. And the reason why I say this is a really cool term is because it actually originates from a real-life term used in aviation fighting. And so essentially when an aviation fighter gets 5 confirmed air eliminations, they're then considered an ace pilot. So now, in video games, we have this term called acing, and it's essentially when you are able to eliminate 5 players or the entire team in one single engagement or round, which is a pretty big accomplishment for most players. So after the trivia, we're going to talk a bit about the program of esports, some best practices and whatnot. So looking at some best practices, understand the educational value. Like I was saying before with how it's a STEM magnet, it can enhance STEM skills. It also offers a lot of opportunities for different teaching methods for students who might have trouble learning in the traditional environment. And it also teaches students, how to be responsible online. Social media nowadays is really, really terrible, especially with younger kids, and there's not a lot of, safety measures put into place to help, teach kids how to be literate online. So esports can really help with that, especially because it's an online format. So the next thing is going to be engaging with parents and the community. Communicating these like social and academic benefits, especially to parents and staff, are going to really help the child feel more confident when playing, and also give more confidence to the parents to allow their child to play. This will also be helpful if you start, engaging with your community and collaborating with other schools, universities maybe, just to help build a larger esports network in your community. And then the last thing is going to be planning for longevity. Esports, yes, up front, it's a pretty heavy ask, especially with all of, the equipment requirements and whatnot, space requirements. It might be very overwhelming at first to get started. But esports is a long-term program. If you start by building a sustainable foundation for leadership with consistent funding, then you'll be able to have a really good plan for growth later on, And tracking progress is going to be the best for this. Look at your turnover rate. What are students interested in? And commitment is key. Commitment is absolutely key. This isn't something that you can just pick up and drop if it's not working out. Like I said about planning for longevity, even though it's a big ask up front, staying committed to it will really, really benefit in the long term. So I want to look at the timeline of success using, UC Esports as an example. So the program, began as a casual program with the UC League of Legends Club being founded back in 2011. And then the next year, another school, it was recognized as a club sport in the United States, so that now people can start competing nationally for esports, which is really, really awesome. Then we started competing, only 3 years later, and we were actually able to become in the top 8 in the nation, which is really, really awesome. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of teams, so there is that, but that's when it was just starting out as well, so we were very proud of that achievement. Then, the year after that, we hosted an 800-plus person tournament in Fifth Third Arena, and this excelled the collegiate esports network and community. There weren't these massive tournaments happening in person yet, but we really did help start that, which I thought was really, really awesome. Then later in 2021, President Pinto gave us the approval for the UC Esports initiative, and with that, the next year we were able to finally open and launch the UC Esports Innovation Lab. And this is our home for, competitive and casual gaming at UC. We're very proud of this space. This is where our teams come to practice and scrimmage. We have broadcasts here. We're very, very proud that we were able to get this started. And so for a school looking to build a program, the steps are going to kind of, be condensed and look a little bit like this. So the first is going to be, recognize and understand the interest in your community. You're going to want to kind of start by, gathering understanding of what students are really kind of whispering about and what other schools are doing kind of in the area. Like, should I start an esports program? Are a lot of students really interested? Do we have a video game club that's really popular? The next step is going to be engaging with and surveying the students, faculty, and parents. Surveying the student body on their wants for competitive play is going to be really important when figuring out stuff like game titles, what equipment you might need. And then it also helps give you information to then later dispel, common misconceptions to parents and faculty about gaming. Like I was saying before, align the program with your school's educational value. Show that esports can be helpful in bringing academic improvement to the school. And so the next is going to be research how other programs got started. What was their path to success? Learn the whys and hows of building a program. This is going to really help eliminate some early trial and error situations if other schools have tried it and have, posted somewhere online, their failures and whatnot. It'll help you get a nice jump start. And then lastly, it's going to be your program launch and then expansion afterwards. It's really going to be, having trust in yourself, in your students, in the community on really what you can do and excelling. So next I wanted to bring up some voices of the industry, and we have some really important perspectives in this too that I think are going to be really helpful, especially with maybe convincing anyone who's on the fence still about starting an esports program or why it's beneficial. And so our three main perspectives are going to be from Josh Harden, who's the Cincinnati Public Schools Athletic Director, Tim David, he's the General Manager of Cincinnati's professional esports team, Cincinnati Fear, And then Camilo Chavez Galino, he is the current UC Esports president, and he's also a scriptwriter for Collegiate Esports News and an esports broadcaster. He's going to give us the student perspective. So first up with Josh Harden, when starting an esports program, there are a few important factors to think about for success. Most notably, always start with the student's voice and interest to guide you. Once it is determined that the students are interested in esports through school or program, you want to find a supportive coach to assist with leading the students and helping them along the way. You know, esports isn't a singular, it's not one person controlling the entire thing. You need to have a team of helping hands to really, push it along the way. And so Josh really gives a great, athletic director and teacher perspective about, having those helping hands along the way and really having that commitment. And so looking at the team manager perspective with Tim David, starting an esports program in a school should be focused on 3 things: building a community, engagement, and working towards the students' personal growth. Finding games that your students are already playing at home by themselves will quickly grow because students want opportunities to play in person with their friends. Like I said before, survey the students, figure out what they want, so then you have a better idea and you're not just, taking a shot in the dark. And then Camilo's student perspective. It doesn't matter if you compete, commentate, or help manage things from behind the scenes. Esports can offer you bonds and connections that could last you your entire life. I have friends in California, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and even Canada, all because of esports. Camilo gives a great perspective as a student because esports is a global industry, so building that community, building those connections don't just happen in your local community. They happen throughout the nation, they happen throughout the world. So I also want to touch on some resources, and I'm going to keep repeating this, but I want to stress just how important it is. Survey the students. If you're trying to gauge interest about anything in the esports community, ask your local gamers in your school. Many students are going to be so excited to discuss their passion, especially if you're showing interest in it. This is going to help increase your understanding from their perspective, and also it's going to help build confidence in them. They're going to be much more confident being open about playing games. And so what does UC offer? What can, we give you as a takeaway? So we have esports scholarships coming soon, we're very proud of. We have a strategic partnership with Esports Ohio and Cincinnati Fear. We aid in networking opportunities with industry professionals like Esports Ohio. We have an early IT program with camps for high school and middle school students who are interested in game design and coding. And then we also have a game design major through DAP and a couple gaming-related certificates through our other colleges as well. And I just wanted to bring that up because this is an invite, for your administration, for your other teachers, your coaches, your parents, your students. Come to us to play. We want to help elevate the community. So something I also want to touch on, what is Discord and why is it important? You've probably heard Discord, whispered around your students, or maybe you know exactly what it is. Discord is a messaging and social media platform where gamers can interact with each other from around the world. It's not exclusive to the video game community, but it is by far the #1 used, means of connection and communication for the esports and gaming industry as a whole. It's a global industry. And although Discord will probably be one of your largest road bumps when starting a program, it is really important to understand, its importance in the community and why it's valued very heavily as its own social media platform and messaging platform. So now we're going to open the floor for some Q&A, and I'll just go through the chat if anything is added, and if not, then we will just continue. And if you don't have any questions right now, we will provide some contact information in the recording of this video, just so that, if you have any questions about building a program, anything about this program at all, we can absolutely reach back out to you and help you understand a little bit more. All right. I just wanted to say thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, listening in. If you're watching this as it's a recording, thank you so much for watching the recording. Like I said, please reach out if you have any questions. I will do my best to answer them. Esports is something that is so unbelievably important to myself, to many others. It's a massive community, and I really think every school should have it and really understand just the true benefits of it. It is such an important thing, and I really hope all schools can have the opportunity to take that next step and to really elevate their community by bringing esports in. So, thank you so much.